The Pentagon is spending billions of dollars to bring in laser weapons to the U.S. Check this out.
The U.S. is in an almost invisible arms race. The Defense Department has spent over $1 billion annually to develop direct energy weapons. Lasers and microwave weapons, in other words.
We're focusing on missions that can't really be handled very well with traditional weapon systems.
In July 2023, the U.S. Army awarded a contract worth $221 million to Lockheed Martin to develop a high-energy laser system designed to defend against aerial threats. Lasers have been used by the military since the Cold War. Most lasers have been used for targeting or illumination. Illumination can be used with some sensors, such as night vision, to point out enemy locations. Laser designation creates a laser reflection on a point that a bomb or missile can hone in on. But now lasers can take out rockets and drones. By focusing kilowatts of power on a precise point, lasers can overheat, redirect, destroy, and damage targets, causing them to be ineffective. Recent advances in drone and cruise missile technology have made the ability to cheaply intercept these small targets more important.
The people I talk to, they say, we're in a good place right now for directed energy. It's out there on ships. The Army's testing it. Air Force is testing it with Thor, for example. But there's still a ways to go. In fiscal 2023, they requested $670-ish million for unclassified research and testing, and then about $345 million for unclassified procurement.
Now, as I was watching this, one of the comments was from a retired weapons expert. This guy worked on projects including the Abrams M1 tank, rangefinder, tow missiles, and lots of lab research. They mentioned that one thing that's a great challenge in almost anything laser is the fragility of the design and build. It's not just that optics in general are delicate, but you're focusing down to the nth degree over distance, great distance. Any movement on the proximal or near end and you've completely lost your target. In short, a lot of money is going to be needed for this kind of weaponry in the US military. But really, the big question is, why is the Pentagon spending billions of dollars to bring laser weapons to the battlefield? Well, I think the Israel-Hamas conflict has proven just how crucial it is to defend against these threats that range from small rockets to ballistic missiles. Now, I've watched these videos and honestly, it's sad to see. Sure, it can be exciting, but you can't help but to think about how unfortunate it would be to be on the wrong end of this kind of weaponry. You know what I mean? Let's just pray for the people, especially the civilians that are caught up in all of this. And also, let's pray for all of this war and conflict to end soon. We talked on our channel about Israel investing in the Iron Beam system, which produces a high-energy laser to complement the Iron Dome batteries used to launch interceptors to take out incoming rockets. Interceptors are like missiles that stop incoming weapons, but there's only a certain number of them in the launcher, and they cost money and can only be used once. Now, on the other hand, lasers provide unlimited chances to intercept because as long as there's electricity, they can just keep recharging and shooting down incoming weapons. Not to mention the cost effectiveness of these laser weapons. Experts predict that the cost per shot could end up being as low as $1 as opposed to the thousands of dollars per missile. Many of these directed energy systems are now starting to be used more and more effectively and extensively in the field. The M-SHORAD, or Directed Energy Maneuver Short-Range Air Defense System, was tested by the U.S. Army in 2023 at the Yuma Proving Grounds. The Navy has the HELIOS, or High Energy Laser and Integrated Optical-dazzler and Surveillance, installed on the U.S.S. Preble, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Weapons experts are calling it an inflection point when it comes to the use of these directed energy laser weapons, meaning various services in the U.S. military are prototyping these systems, bending metal, putting things out there and experimenting with them. Something interesting that I heard recently is that lasers have been improving in efficiency and size roughly in line with Moore's law, just like computer chips. Explains why they were a dumb fantasy 20 years ago and completely workable now. Now I'm telling you guys, if you haven't already, better subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell. Of course, a big huge thanks for turning it on, and also a bigger thanks for lighting up the like button like always. I really appreciate it, you guys. And if you appreciate the research and documentaries just like this one, feel free to click the join button and become a member of this channel. We'd love to have you as a member of the Truth Exposed family. Now, another side note to this topic is not just the fact that the Pentagon is spending $1 billion a year developing laser and microwave weapons, but it's that Washington is actually worried that money will go to waste. According to new reports from the Government Accountability Office, the U.S. military faces serious challenges trying to get what it calls directed energy weapons out, but should consolidate efforts so that weapons don't fall into what's called the Valley of Death. The U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force have been creating different kinds of advanced energy weapons. The main ones are high-energy lasers, HEL, and high-power microwaves, HPM. So the HEL, it's good for targeting specific things like drones or missiles with a focused beam. HPM covers a wider area and could be used in non-lethal ways, like stopping a group of drones or disabling vehicles without hurting people inside. These weapons, in theory, could be used a lot because they don't run out of ammo and they're a lot cheaper to use than regular weapons. For example, it cost the US $111 million to use a missile to stop a nuclear missile, but using a laser for the same job might only cost as much as the electricity bill for generating it. The issue, according to the GAO, is that the Pentagon doesn't have a clear plan for putting these weapons into action. There's a gap, something they call the Valley of Death, between the development and acquisition communities. This makes it hard for new technology to be used because the people who buy and use it might want a higher level of technology than what the developers can make. Now, according from a report from May by the GAO, there are three main problems with these new weapons: technological limitations, concerns around battlefield use, and ethical and health concerns. The technology isn't fully developed, and the Pentagon is struggling to find civilian contractors to help improve it. For instance, both high-energy lasers, the HEL, and the high-power microwaves, the HPM, are difficult to power for long periods of time, and lasers won't work well in heavy fog or rain. The report also mentions battlefield concerns. These weapons are so new that the rules about how to use them in a fight, they're not very clear. Microwaves cover a wide area, and there's a risk of hitting civilians or even friendly forces by mistake. Then there are ethical worries. The GAO says that no one is quite sure about the long-term effects of these direct energy weapons on people who are exposed to them, whether on purpose or by accident. Scary stuff. But we're definitely reaching an inflection point in laser weaponry right now, and it's been a long time coming. Countries around the world have been working on some form of direct energy weapons since the early 20th century. The U.S. programs we see today have their origins in President Ronald Reagan's unsuccessful Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as Star Wars. Reagan's plan was to have scientists put energy weapons on satellites so that America could shoot down Russian nukes out of the sky before they even hit the homeland. Well, it never worked. Will today's laser weapons be any different? Definitely something to keep an eye on. Or maybe they already have something but are keeping it under wraps from the public. I mean, the Pentagon has hinted that it could use laser and microwave weapons to fend off attacks on its bases near Israel. At a recent briefing, Department of Defense Press Secretary Pat Ryder discussed tensions in the Middle East that have seen militia groups attack U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria in response to Israel's attacks on Gaza. When asked what weapon systems are being used to defend bases, Ryder hinted that direct energy weapons, which use lasers or microwaves to take out targets, could be available to use alongside traditional air defense systems. Apparently, he didn't want to go into the specific capabilities that we're using in order to protect our forces, other than to say that we have a wide variety which does include direct energy capabilities. Now, you heard that right, guys. It includes directed energy capabilities. Wow. Laser weapons from sci-fi to the battlefield reality. There's also talk about the U.S. Army looking to procure Israel's Iron Beam laser weapon for air defense. The Army's acquisition chief said that he was pleased that funding to support development of Israel's Iron Dome system was included in a recent supplemental request to Congress. The White House has asked Congress for a large amount of money, and part of that request, around $1.2 billion, is meant to help Israel develop a powerful laser beam called Iron Beam. I mentioned this in another video before. Basically, this laser is designed to deal with short-range rockets and mortars, like the ones used by groups such as Hamas in the current conflict. If the technology proves successful for Israel, the U.S. Army might be interested in buying the system for itself. Apparently, Israeli defense contractor Rafael has already been working on the tech. Doug Bush, the U.S. Army's Assistant Secretary for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology, was pleased about the entire thing. He saw the system in action when he went to Israel. He saw the first prototype, and he was pleased to see that Iron Beam investment in the supplemental. The U.S. military has its own program called Indirect Fire Protection Capability High Energy Laser, also known as IFPC-HEL. It's like a prototype laser system, and it's managed by the Army's Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technologies Office. The Israeli system is a little bit different technologically. The good thing is, even though we're going in one direction with our system, the Israeli one is going a slightly different way. So if their system works well, it could be something that we consider using for our needs in that area. The funding allows us to explore different options and ultimately see what works. When asked to explain the differences between the U.S. Army and Israel's technology, Bush couldn't give too many details. He just mentioned that it has to do with how the laser beam is formed and aimed, as well as the different power levels. Also, the Israelis are dealing with a specific problem of rockets, while the Army system has a broader goal, including defeating cruise missiles. It's interesting to say the least, and if Israel's system is successful, it could be something the Army looks into using. The Iron Beam laser has a power of 100 kilowatts, enough to power a house for 3.5 days, and it's made to stop different threats like rockets, artillery, mortars, and drones. It can even engage targets several kilometers away, according to Raphael. Now, the U.S. Army is looking for capabilities like the IFPC HEL to protect both fixed and semi-fixed sites from various threats, including cruise missiles, rockets, artillery, mortars, unmanned aerial systems, drones, and different types of aircraft. In July, the Defense Department gave Lockheed Martin a major arms deal worth up to $221 million to develop, integrate, manufacture, test, and deliver IFPC HEL prototype weaponry systems for the Army's Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technologies Office, something they expect to finish by October 18, 2025. Lockheed is supposed to provide 2 prototypes with a power of 300 kilowatts each, and there's an option for 2 more units according to the deal revealed in October. So yeah, lots of developments in the weaponry space, guys. Definitely all the more reasons to keep tuning in. So what do you guys think about today's documentary? More on the next one? I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.